And we are back. Couch Company Podcast. My name is John, and a special congratulations to my partner in crime, Tyler.
Thank you.
So if you are listening to us, it is a Wednesday.
Yes.
And if you saw our Twitter, at CouchCo Games, we let you know why. Tyler's getting married. We had a bachelor party weekend for him. And
Friday through Sunday.
Friday through Sunday
is a long one.
So it was impossible to record.
Party does not stop. We were going to record, and we said that on the air, which
did.
Obviously jinxed it from the very beginning.
I feel like, so I walked in, and as the first night was going on, this was Friday night.
Yeah.
Tyler's like, so are we recording? Or I was like, are we recording? And Tyler's like, let's just do it tomorrow. And I was like, it's due.
Let's just enjoy. Let's just enjoy Friday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was funny because there's like several points throughout the weekend where it's like, dude, if we could just hit record, this is like quality content.
Yeah.
Kyle telling us why Wheel of Time.
I almost
said Wheel of Fortune. That's something else.
They're basically the same thing.
I think it's the same universe, right?
I think so.
Kyle doesn't listen to us, so he was telling us why that was the greatest universe ever created, I guess. Mm-hmm. It can't be. Okay, so pretty much for anyone who wasn't there, which is everyone, the audience, Kyle was kind of saying it was like the most descriptive. He likes his writing style, I guess, and he's very descriptive about everything. It can't be more than Tolkien, though, right?
I think,
or does he mean like literally?
Yeah, well, so I think Tolkien maybe is a little bit more direct.
Yeah.
In his descriptions. So like he's describing it, but he's describing it pretty clearly succinctly where Kyle just broke out a passage and started reading it.
Yeah.
It was very flowery, so to speak. Like it was almost like poetic the way it was being written. I don't know, it was about like death and destruction, but
it's more
flowery
descriptive
way of doing it.
Like imagery, right? Yeah. Versus exposition, which I'm pretty sure Tolkien invented exposition, right? Like, so I don't know. It was. Have you read that book?
Oh, Lord of the Rings?
No.
Yeah. No, I haven't. And apparently, and this is one of those things where it's like, oh well, the books get kind of long in the tooth, or it is kind of. It's like, okay, well then.
You can say about Lord of the Rings too.
Books? Oh, absolutely.
Whoa, what?
It's quite a few books.
Holy crap!
Yeah.
Are they like big books?
Yeah, I don't think they're quite Harry Potter length.
That's good. That's a good start.
Yeah.
I will say Harry Potter is like such an easy read, though.
Oh yeah, no, this is definitely different than Harry Potter. But
more.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's got to be tough that you read something, you have this universe, this is like his favorite series of all time,
right?
And no one else has read it, heard of it. Well, people have heard of it.
I've heard of it only because of the TV show,
right?
And Kyle talking about it,
yeah.
But
for instance,
right.
like with Harry Potter, right?
Yeah.
So like Chelsea loves Harry Potter. She has you and like 6 other people to talk to about Harry Potter, even with the books or the movies or whatever. Like there's that universe.
Yeah.
Obviously, we can go to town on Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, all that stuff.
Right.
Game of Thrones, but then you have Wheel of Time, and it's just like crickets. And I feel bad for Kyle. Like I want to watch it to like kind of like understand kind of where he's coming from and whatnot. But the problem is like, we're going to be just going off of the TV show, which apparently took some liberties to, make it a TV show.
Right. Of course.
I don't know.
No, I totally get how he feels. Okay. As an anime watcher, no one in our friend group watches anime at all. Like Nate used to. I know. I was actually talking to Josh a little bit about this as well, but most of you guys don't. So it's like, yeah, I'm just kind of sitting here like with all this knowledge and power, and I can't tell anyone about it. But I mean, more accurately, I started reading Red Rising, which is the book the research department wanted me to read.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that's Calvin's favorite universe. At least it's got to be up there. I mean, he really, really loves that series. So I imagine he feels the same way. You find something that's a little bit more niche, although I think Wheel of Time, Kyle was saying it was pretty popular.
I mean,
I don't know though.
Yeah,
but yeah,
like it's
I guess
popular,
what does that
but
mean?
until there's a successful.
One.
He said it was successful as far as Amazon. But he said Amazon paid $1 billion for that.
Yeah, but that's nothing
to produce
for
it. I guess not. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, they said it was that in Lord of the Rings, right?
Yeah,
That's what you're
which
saying?
I'm still on the fence about. Lord, I'm more excited,
So-
honestly, for Wheel of Time than Lord of the Rings. At this
I
point.
saw the trailer like on the Super Bowl, and I thought it was fine.
The Lord of the Rings one.
Yeah, but the internet like blew up and they all hated it.
Mm-hmm.
Is there like did I miss something?
It's a little bit more to the. And granted, this is a trailer, so you take 60
Right.
seconds of something
Of
and
course.
just make an opinion because that's the internet. I'm looking at it, and it was closer to The Hobbit than it was like the Lord of the Rings, like the original trilogy.
In terms of what?
Just with CGI, special effects, like I don't know, like it seemed a little bit more fanciful.
Fanciful.
I think. If I just keep saying it, maybe I'll make it a word.
I don't know what you're trying to say.
It's a little bit more fantastical, and it's less grounded. At least it looked less grounded. It looked a little bit more flashy. It looked a little
Sure.
bit more like Witcher. It did look like a TV
I
show,
see.
obviously, because it's TV.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I reserve judgment, right? Like it's not out yet. Let's take a look and
No, of
watch
course.
it. but-
I thought it looked fine, and I was kind of excited for it because my good friend David is like really into Lord of the Rings. So that's
Is he excited for it?
Oh yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. Because he read there's like the one book where it talks about the age before like the Ring Wars.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean? Like the movies and everything. So I guess this is what the TV show set in is like the age before.
Well, it's going off of Sauron's diary, right?
Right. Yeah. So it's gonna be interesting. But I don't know. I just remember I saw the internet like just being like blowing up over it. Like they hated it.
That doesn't sound like them. That's
Well,
those guys are
usually
they're
there's
like-
something.
they're normally very chill and
I understand, but usually there's something. You can be like, oh, well, it's an overreaction, but yeah.
I'm excited to see where they go with it for sure. But then, like, how much do you like? Those books are like the kind of prequel or whatever you want to call it. Like,
What is it called? This Salmonella?
Symposium? Yeah,
Something. So with an S.
Just
Samarellian or something?
Soliloquy. I don't know.
I'm gonna look it up.
That's
while you
very
talk.
close. If not that, it's Samarellian. I don't know.
I'm looking it up.
It's not anyway. It's not long, right?
Right.
So I'm very interested to see, like, do they have a set? Is it like a Breaking Bad scenario where they have a set number of seasons they're going to produce, or is it going to be like, oh man, if we can catch this on fire, like we're just going to beat it to death and then just start making stuff up?
Cimmerian.
Sure. That's what we said, right?
I don't know. I was
From the
close.
very beginning. That was the first one.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry.
Sometimes it's pronounced soliloquy.
Yeah. Right.
yeah.
Depending on what country you're in.
Yeah. But I'm excited. I don't know.
I
want
to
to
watch
see.
it.
Well, I should say I'm excited for Wheel of Time. Less excited for Lord of the Rings, but I will absolutely watch it. And hopefully,
Yeah, I'll watch Wheel of Time. I'll give
surprise.
Kyle a bone.
Yeah.
I mean, well,
okay.
yeah,
Yeah, sure.
Why not? You talk now.
I mean, that was kind of a good segue. This might be a little out of order.
Sure.
But you played a Lord of the Rings game. If we just want to go on this train.
Absolutely. So I have completed Shadow of War.
Yeah. How many hours did it take you?
40 something.
40.
But that's because I dicked around a lot.
Yeah, I mean,
a
that's
lot.
good.
It was a lot of fun.
I think mine was 39, so it's about the same.
So, second game in the series.
Mhm.
Shadow of Mordor was the first one, and then this is Shadow of War. So it's the sequel. And
Did you watch? Not to keep interrupting you, apologize.
Yeah.
Like, did you watch the Shadow of Mordor after? Like, did you watch like the lead up, or did you do?
No.
Did I send you anything for that, or was that just Portal?
oh no, you did, yeah. So there was
Okay.
like a 5-minute recap though.
Yeah, like
So
everything you need to know going into Shadow of War.
I missed a good chunk of it. Like I know there was like a couple characters in the first game that I didn't really know. They kind of made reference to.
Yeah.
Actually, the one, not orc. What's the little guys called? They're not goblins.
Hobbits,
No,
Goblin.
the one guy shows up in this game. Apparently, he was in the first game.
It's not a
but,
goblin or an orc.
I guess it's a goblin.
Yeah,
I thought they have a different name though.
yeah, they spelled wrong. I don't know. Go ahead.
I don't know. Whatever.
Sure.
He's got like a nose ring
What's
and
the
everything.
British version of? Like an ogre? Like
No, he's small.
like a mini ogre.
And he's like talking about our adventures from the last game, and I'm like, yeah, I was totally there.
Yeah, I don't know.
He's really funny. I can't believe I can't remember his name. Anyways, this is gonna kill me. Anyways, so I finished the game and it was really good, and I have thoughts on it. So
I want to hear those thoughts.
All right, let me start with.
We kept pushing you to do this. We're like, okay, this is literally made for you.
Well, you were saying like might be your second favorite game of all time, which is shocking to me.
It might be
based on the formula you constructed for yourself.
Yes,
it is your
as the
second
current list
favorite.
says.
Yes,
yeah.
It's your second favorite game of all time as of right now.
Yes.
I totally see why that is. This game is a shit ton of fun.
Yeah.
Let me start with the story, though.
Yep.
So the story is not amazing. It's like very vanilla. Like
you were telling me story beats.
Yeah.
You were like, oh, I can't believe this woman did this. And I'm like, I can't believe I don't remember a single woman in that game. You know, like just stuff like that. Where
you
it's
have
like
Shelob,
well,
the hottest woman ever.
The hottest spider on this side of the...
I actually really disliked that. So, and David was talking to me about this game before I ever played it, and I was like, I was trying to follow along, but obviously you just gain a different perspective once you actually play the game or whatever. And I totally get what he was saying. So he was saying this could have been a different character. You could have just made her some sort of witch, whatever, and it would have totally made sense. And it's literally the only reason is like, hey, remember Shelob? You watched those movies, right? You like that?
Yeah, but
like that big spider?
I don't remember her. Like, I don't remember sexy Shelob.
Well, she's like the first part of the game. It's like, it was really strange. You're like running back and forth from Minas Ithil to whatever, Mordor, I guess, and you're doing quests for her and blah, blah, blah. It's like, it was really strange. It's like, the first like quarter of the game was like, Shelob, give me a vision. Oh fuck, that's gonna happen. Let's go prevent it. Oh shit, we fucked it up. Shelob, give me a vision. Oh, we gonna do. It was like 3 or 4 times. Like I was like, this is very dumb.
Yeah,
it wasn't. I'm sorry, it was like it's not creative at all, and it sucks. It's unfair because you have Lord of the Rings.
Right.
When you have that property, you're going up against the story that's set in place. That's what happened with The Hobbit, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's different, right? Didn't he write The Hobbit first? I think he did.
Did he? Yeah. Yes.
Anyways, I guess when I'm talking about the movies, like when you're making the movies The Hobbit, you have like the best adaptation ever made to compare with. So the story isn't horrible, but it's pretty straightforward.
It's forgettable. Like,
exactly.
It's one of those things like I don't remember a single piece from it.
Well, I'm going to do spoilers. Just
when did this come out? 2011?
Yeah.
Something like that?
Yeah, you're fine. But you should go play it if you haven't. Anyways, so I remember some of the big story beats. Like I was telling you, oh man, dude, it was so sick when we fought the Balrog, right? Mm-hmm. And you're like, oh, I don't remember that. I was like, how?
I don't remember the Balrog at all.
Dude, that was like huge. It was like this whole big thing. It's not like a story.
That's not why I go to that game, I guess. Like that's not why I went to the game. Like,
no, I
think
agree.
it did a fine job, like filling in different gaps and being like, that's how you got the guy. Not to skip ahead, but it's just like it didn't transform anything, or it wasn't like this incredible like revolutionary moment of, oh my gosh, this changes Lord of the Rings forever, or look at this twist.
But that's not what it's trying to set out to do,
right?
Which I really appreciate. When you are handling a situation like this is exactly how you have to approach it. You can weave in, take liberties where you can, but ultimately everything should be intact and make sense while trying to tell a good story. Now, that's like really hard to do, but at least they went on the safe side where it's like, okay, we're not changing anything crazy, except for Shelob. But and I really like that. And then you kind of learn some of the backstory. Like, for example, one of the really cool things was the Nazgul. You kind of learn all those backstories. Now, that's not in the movies at all. I don't think it's in the books either. But kind of getting that, they took the liberty with that because it's like, well, these were once people, right? They were all kings or whatever.
Right.
So it was kind of cool, like learning that kind of stuff. So anyways, with this story, it is segmented into these different quest lines, okay? So you have the Gondor quest line, you have Shelob's stuff, you have Bruce has his like own thing. Like
that's your big like ogre guy.
And there's like all these other ones. I guess there's one for Sauron too, which is like the main quote unquote quest line. Some of these are really cool, and some of them are horrible. Like the Gondor one is like, that was one of the most boring quest lines I have ever done in my entire life.
Wow.
Dude, it was so boring. It's like, oh, we're in trouble. Save us. Oh, we saved him? All right, let's...
Bet you're going to be in trouble again. Another half hour.
It's like, it was so weird. Like the one chick, And the black dude, he was cool, but forgettable. Like, I don't even know what we were doing. Like, yeah, we're fighting, I guess, but
Yeah.
I don't know. Let's see some progress. Let's see.
It's weird because it's like it's just a prop to give you a reason to have fun.
Yeah. So anyways, with this story, some of them were good, some of them were not. My favorite was obviously probably the main quest line because the most interesting things happened there, but the Nazgul one, and that might be the main one. I'm not 100% sure. I don't remember, but that was my favorite because it was the most interesting. It had the most backstory and things like that. Like you're fighting Sauron and everything, right? So that's when you get those flashbacks, right? Anyways, with that being said, so I'm like doing everything and whatever, and I get to the end of the game, and that's when the story gets interesting. Right. It's like, wait a minute, so much has happened in the last like 10 minutes. So pretty much you get to the end of the game, and the last fight's pretty cool, although in hindsight, maybe a little bit underwhelming, but you're basically on this bridge and all these like captains and stuff that you recruited during the game, and you're like fighting and everything, which is cool. And then pretty much you free what's his face, the Nazgul, or right?
Once again, you're asking me about a story beat.
You free someone. Sure. I forget who it is. It's one of them, and because what's your boy Celebrimbor is like, we need to use him or something, and Talion's like, fuck this, we need to end the cycle, whatever. Mm-hmm. And then the chick you've been fighting with the whole time kind of betrays you, and they take the ring, and you die because the only thing you were alive was
the ring to live.
But then Shelob comes back, and she gives you the other ring. A lot of rings in this.
There's 7?
There's a lot.
10?
So he becomes a wraith himself.
Yeah.
And then the post-game, I guess, if you want to call it that, is you're a wraith, and you're like...
And you don't need Celebrimbor anymore.
Everything... Yeah, and he's very OP.
Yeah.
Also, Talion in this state would give Geralt a run for his money. I just want to...
Talion in the other state would have... So here's the thing with that. Like, and this is interesting because I remember saying, like, okay, I'll be interested to see where your drop-off point is.
Yeah.
Right? Because when this all happens, it's like, okay, now keep playing the game, even though it's like, everything's kind of done.
Yep.
It's just like, all right, let's just start...
I'll tell you this, the moment I noticed I had to take my own fort back, I was like, nope.
Yeah, I
appreciate that there's all that content in the game.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I could play for another 40, 50 hours, which is what you were talking about in the first place. Like, it's your second favorite game of all time or whatever,
allegedly,
right?
Yeah.
Allegedly. There's so much content there. It is seemingly an infinite experience.
Yep.
Right? Which you give a lot of credit to, and I totally understand where you're coming from with that now, because I could play the game twice over again and, run it back and take all the forts back, and it'd be fun. I liked doing it. It was literally just like, I have a lot of other things to play.
That's the problem, right?
A young John would have just gone through it and done it again.
Yeah.
So anyways, the story was okay. Some of them sucked. Some of them were good. The ending intrigued me a lot more, and I was sad that it's like over now, but I guess there's some stuff at the post game, right? And I guess Talion dies or something from what David told me.
I'll take your word for it. Like, you're talking after you go in and do all the extra.
So essentially the post game is like he's taken back everything, and that goes on for years or something, and then he just dies, or he succumbs and he becomes one of the wraiths.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so
okay.
It's kind of funny. So in David's headcanon, he was telling me, he's like, the first wraith you see in the movie is Talion.
Stabs him?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I like that.
I like that, too.
That's really
I'm
cool.
into that.
Yeah, because, I mean, it would work perfectly.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't prove it.
Can't prove otherwise. Okay, so that's the story. Let me get into why this game is...
So out of 10, like, 1 to 10, story-wise... Oh,
story-wise?
You thinking it's like a 5, 6?
Like a 6, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Maybe a 7, but probably 6. It just wasn't very intriguing.
I want to ask you that again at the end of the year and just see how many stories would stick with you.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a really good idea. Let's get into why this game's fantastic.
All right.
These are some of the best gameplay mechanics I have ever seen in my entire life. The whole Nemesis system, the idea of it, the way it's executed is nearly flawless. I love, and this game's all about the orcs.
Yeah.
Their character, how you interact with them, whether you recruit them or whether they become your rival, they come back. You like try the sieges are super cool too.
Yep.
I mean, that is where this game shines, obviously. So
and it's neat because like you don't even get the ability to recruit them till what you said, like 20 hours in,
I put
15 hours in,
12 hours into the first act, which is before you can recruit them. Yeah. So I was just killing orcs. They were coming back. I told my story on here about Crimp the serpent or whatever.
Yeah.
And then he comes back as Crimp the Machine, and that's still one of my favorite like video game moments. Like we just had this. We fought each other like 8 or 9 times, just back and forth.
Did you see how the sausage was made after putting 40 hours in? I feel like right around that 40-hour mark, you start seeing not necessarily repeat stuff, but you can kind of like take a peek behind the curtain, being like, oh, the RNG. Like you can see the gamey mechanics of it. Of like, here's a list of names, here's a list of, like, okay, the machine, I know I had a machine guy in there, like as you were telling me the story,
right?
Probably was a different name, probably was a different like skill set or whatever, but it's like the same basic thing.
So I did not get to that point because early on I did a lot of the captain slaying and I was having so much fun with that, and then I did a lot of the recruiting too. I will say once I got the ability to recruit, I recruited a lot more than I would kill them because I wanted to like build up my army. And so I didn't really run into that. I think I cut off at a good point.
Right.
But I will say YouTube in its infinite wisdom started recommending me Shadow of War videos. And I did see some of the similarities. I saw an orc that he only rhymed, right? And I got that one too. And so some of them I feel like are definitely, there's like some.
Do you think it's better when it is slightly randomized, where if you just shut everything out, it's like this is very personal to you, right? Like that was a great story, for you. So it's like, does it ruin it all? Because like you have to know that's a thing. Either everything is completely scripted, everyone gets the same thing, or there needs to be some sort of RNG there where it's like it's very rare for you to have like one experience that no one else ever will.
No,
right?
I'm sure someone else has experienced what I did. It doesn't really detract from me because I was very much in my own world there, and I just loved that story. Like, I don't know, I thought it was really, really cool, and it just fits so well.
Awesome.
So
I'm still shocked no one's taken that yet, like the Nemesis system or anything. Like I've seen hints of it here and there with different games and stuff, but it's just like,
well, you were talking about this, and I think it's a brilliant idea with Batman. That would be fantastic.
People, whenever Arkham Knight was coming out, they were convinced that that was going to have an element of the Nemesis system in there, and it just,
of course, you have to adjust it big time because you can't be decapitating the Joker,
right?
But you can definitely do it, like putting them in Arkham, and then that would get really cool. Because it'd be like, depending on who's in Arkham, they synergize and they come out with a bonus, or they can escape easier or something like that, or whatever the case may be. That'd be really interesting. Like every villain has its own.
I mean, the only thing that I can think of that comes as close to it as possible is Odyssey, which I know I talk about Odyssey a lot.
Oh, do you like that game?
Yeah, it might be my second favorite game of all time. But you do kind of the same thing where you do take forts and you have to go in. It's like this siege, and you have to like pick and choose. Okay, do I want like the Spartans or the Athenians to like own this section of territory and stuff? And you kind of play that political war. But then you do have the mercenaries that come in into battle. Yeah. So like it's like, okay, if I kill this guy, I move up in rank and stuff. So it's not as interactive. Like they're not screaming at you, and like you aren't forming relationships with them. It's either like they murder you or you kill them.
Right.
But that's the only hint that I've seen in a video game that like kind of harkens back to Shadow of War.
Yeah, I just think it's so good. The fact that they all have their own personalities, so unique, and they're orcs, and they're so funny and crazy. It's just really awesome. So that's the best part of the game is the Nemesis system for sure. I will say the sieges are really, really fun as well. Although it's not the best sieging I've ever seen. Like it's super odd. Like when you have your army and you hear the war horns going and you're screaming charge, and that's like the best feeling in the world, right? There's like fucking catapults just destroying. Why they don't have trebuchets, I have no idea, but they're orcs. So that I guess that makes sense. So that's fantastic. And then you realize it's just like a really fast game of domination where you're taking 3 points and you're going to fight the guy. Good. And it's still cool. I actually really like how the castles are laid out too. Like those big rooms where you fight in look really cool.
Yeah.
Which is kind of a sidebar. But Yeah, once you start stripping away, the sieges are like pretty straightforward. But
little samey.
little
Like, after
samey,
a while.
right?
Yeah.
Like I will say, my personal favorite, like fort taking, sieging, quote unquote, is probably Far Cry 4. I did a really good job of making every fort unique, having clear paths in. Like I remember one of the forts in that game, like you could go in underground, like from a mile away, and come up through a well.
Yeah.
It was so like things like that, or you can just blow the gate up in the front and like drive through it. Like I just really liked how that.
I think
was laid
Valhalla
out.
does something similar to that,
Yeah.
where you can kind of go in and like basically just pick apart the entire fort secretly
you can,
and then go in. And
You can see the devs having fun, like, oh
Yeah.
yeah, here's the well, like here's a secret entrance, like, you know, things like that. And I like things like that where you can kind of see the different ideas and you can approach it from very different ways.
It's good foundation that, like, if they ever did come out with a third one,
Yeah.
they could blow that out. They could make it where it's like oh, it could be.
Yeah, absolutely.
Really, really
So,
cool. Yeah.
And then I guess the only other thing I'll say about the game is the combat is fantastic. I mean, this game is so brutal. It just feels so good, though.
And you went pretty hard. Like, that was kind of our joke. Is like,
Yeah.
I love playing stealth.
Yeah,
Right? I'm
yeah,
going
yeah.
in assassinating everyone I possibly can. And then I watch you, and I'm just clenched the whole time as you're just headshotting people and
Yeah.
like just this brawler.
So I'll be the guy who's like on the roof.
Yeah.
Looking over, I'll assassinate one guy, and then everyone else is like, "Oh!" and then
about
I'll
as
start
stealthy
fighting
as you
everyone.
get,
Yeah, exactly. So I'm pretty impatient when it comes to that, but I don't know. It's very fluid. I love the group combat where you can move, you can jump over people, you can slide through legs. The combos are really nice.
Parry system.
Parry
Yeah.
system is fantastic, and the thing is, like the base combat itself is. This is what it does really well. The base combat itself does a good enough job to keep you interested until you can start unlocking those abilities, which really opens up the combat. That's where you get your combos, your parrying, for example, your executions, which are probably my favorite. It staggers it extremely well.
Yeah.
Where it doesn't feel stale. You're like, oh, okay, this is boring now. When am I going to get my next point? It's like, oh, this is really great. And before you're done getting bored of that new thing you got, you're getting another ability. So
Right.
I think it really does a really great job of proportioning that out. But yeah, my favorite's the executions. They are sick.
They are brutal. And
they
you're
are
right.
so
You can't
brutal.
do that with any other. Like,
Well,
I guess, like
me
with,
and
like,
Nate were
Batman
talking
and
about
stuff,
it
you
actually, like Gears of War.
couldn't. Gears of War would be good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like you saw people in half in that game.
That's true.
So
Yeah.
There have been games, but very few games do it and can pull it off. I think you're right. He was talking to, even in Gears of War, the cog are burly and big and kind of orcish. So
Yeah.
I don't know. It's not super realistic, right?
Right.
But yeah, that was super awesome. I love the Wraith abilities too. Just super cool. So combat's fantastic. The gameplay is fantastic.
Yeah, like the movement's really, really good. Like, it doesn't. When we were talking about like just fun mechanics and just like, it's not a chore to move. Like,
No.
you don't have like a sprint. Like, you don't have like stamina and things. Like, you just like
I will say
jump and just go.
on PC, I'm sure it feels much better with the controller. My sprint originally was the mouse wheel.
Oh, that's just
Yeah,
silly.
so
Okay.
awful.
Well, yeah,
so
I use a controller.
I do have to. Yeah, so I'm sure it feels better on a controller. But I agree. Traversing the environments are very easy. You can climb really well,
Yeah.
and easily, and just fly around the map. Like you're insane in that game,
Yep.
and you feel that way too. So, with that being said,
Well, how's the music?
oh, the music was
Like
fantastic.
music, voice acting,
Yeah.
sound, everything.
What's his face does Italian. He's amazing, right?
Troy Baker?
Troy Baker, yeah. Voice acting's great. Music was great. It was epic. It was very in the style of Lord of the Rings, which is fantastic.
Mm-hmm. Does Nolan North do the Goblin? Did I make that up?
Some of them, yeah.
Okay.
What's
Yeah.
his face does some of them too. Matt Mercer.
Sure. Okay, that makes sense.
So you have like these insane voice actors. I mean, they know what the selling point of the game is, right?
Yeah.
So you can see where the attention
that's
went
where
into,
the
and
money
it
went,
pays
yeah.
off for sure. So I think the game looks really great too. You were saying it's from 20. It's from
2011,
2015.
2013, 15. Okay.
Yeah, 15, 16.
Yeah.
I think 16. Game still looks great. I had it maxed out, but I was getting pretty good frames with it. And on PC, I don't know if they did anything to it, or is that just still
Still standard. They didn't like
game?
remaster it or anything.
Right,
to my
right.
knowledge,
So It holds up really well. I mean, it has a lot of options for visually.
Yeah.
And you can really crank that thing and make it really look really nice.
I mean, I'm sure there are mods out there where you can like maybe improve the lighting or something, but I was looking at some of the environments and like not everything is incredible.
No.
But a lot of it is just like, hey, this actually looks a little more detailed than
it's like
Ring.
you have these set pieces.
Yeah.
And especially like the distance, like they know that they had to make Middle Earth look really good, and it looks fantastic in the game. I mean, when you look out in the distance, these huge mountains, these huge set pieces, it looks really good.
Yeah.
Especially, I found like when there's like a sun setting or something, or some sort of light in the sky in particular, it looks pretty good.
Yep.
But yeah, not perfect. I
mean, lighting will always lighting and reflections are always going to.
I think the lighting in that game is really good. I think where it is not as great is probably the character models. So that you can see a little bit of an age there, especially coming from like I still contend the remake of Final Fantasy VII, probably some of the best character models I've ever seen.
Yeah, I would agree with you. They're animated very well.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. And you know, even something like Halo, they were like a little off in my opinion.
Yeah. Does Shadow of War use Unreal? I would assume. Does that?
I'm
pop
not
up in the
100%
beginning?
sure, but I would assume so.
I feel like that's an Unreal game, but I could be wrong. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's an easy guess. Right?
Yeah. Right. It probably uses
When in
Unreal
doubt.
or I
Yeah.
don't know. Yeah.
So, anyways,
So
what am I forgetting? I think that covers the breadth of it.
Yeah.
It's a great
pretty
game.
in depth. Yeah,
It's
I
a
mean,
great
clearly,
game.
if you put 40 hours into it, I feel like you have to.
Well, I played it. I was like, you know, I have a big list to get through.
Sure.
And I was playing it, and about an hour in, I was like, fuck. I don't want to move on. Something else.
It's awesome.
That is great. So I'm really glad I played it. Let's give it a score.
Okay. I'm going to be relying on you probably more, because like all I remember are good things, specifically with the gameplay. I know how much I love the mechanics and everything you talked about. I don't remember anything about the story,
Well,
so that's
dude,
got
this
to
is
dock it
tough.
on some things.
Because you know me. I'm a story guy, character guy.
I know.
Besides Talion, Celebrimbor, Sauron, I can't tell you the fuck's in this game.
Yeah. It's
And
Lady and Black Guy and
Lady
Shelob.
with the hood.
Yeah.
I mean, she's cool, but she's like standard like cool guy.
Yeah, it's like it
Or
could be
cool
Aloy.
girl.
It's like pre
It could be
Aloy.
Aloy. I don't think you give Aloy enough credit.
I probably don't.
I'll tell you after the second game.
Sure.
So that's a problem.
Yep.
But the gameplay's so good.
You make your own stories.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And man, I don't know. It's like this is really tough for me because like my two favorite things are not incredibly well done here, as well as other games. But the things that I don't put as much stock into are done so well, so much better than other games. It's a very weird place I'm in right now.
So I think just the way we've been talking, it's definitely in gold tier.
Yes, yes. Which
So-
would be, when does that start? 88?
I believe 86.
Really?
I think so.
Let me look it up.
Okay.
But yeah, I definitely agree. It's at least in gold tier, right? Like somewhere in there. I'll go ahead and start.
Can we start breaching the 90s?
Absolutely. I think it's
Okay.
in the 90s.
All right.
I am looking for
Oh, do you have a list?
I believe I still have the picture you sent, and I'm looking for it right now.
Oh, nice.
But you would
Okay.
agree it's in the 90s, right?
Oh, for sure. I mean, this is allegedly my second favorite game of all time, you know?
Okay. Gold starts at 86, ends at 95.
Yeah.
Is it flirting with the platinum tier?
We don't have a platinum tier,
We do
right?
not have
It's
a platinum
94 is
tier.
our highest with Borderlands 2.
Yeah.
Oh,
This is tough because
You're saying 96 is the
96 is plat.
yeah.
And like I said, if I had the time, if I didn't have such a huge backlog, I would be doing the end game content.
I mean,
would go
I
back
100%ed
through.
it. I did all the collectibles, all that jazz.
I could see I was literally telling David this too. It's like I would 100% this game if I
Yeah.
had the time because the collectibles they're so easy to get. Check them off. You get like a little lore thing too. I think it's a really great system for those. Collectibles are not always good. And I think they were pretty good in that game.
And not to keep bringing up Tomb Raider, but I would say in terms of just collectibles and getting like a little hint of lore or like Tomb Raider did it very well.
Yeah.
Like it was.
Do you think it did better than this game?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I think this game did it good because you'll find like a little souvenir or something, and it'll tell you what it is and why it's important.
Here's my thing. The story, like, I mean, that's a big selling point for you.
Of course.
Right?
Yeah.
If they fumble the story, does that just automatically knock it out of... Because they tried for it.
Yeah.
I mean, like they did put some stuff in there. But when you're talking about Gondor and you're talking about filler and you're talking,
a lot of filler, yeah.
Right. So is that a detriment to it? Does that knock it where it's like, hey, it's a really good game, but like Platinum, that's got to be firing on like all cylinders. So is it like a 95 and it's like right on the cusp, but that story just like, shoots an arrow in its ankle type of thing?
Not in the knee. It's
Not in
a
the
different
knee,
game.
yeah.
I think you're probably onto something. I will say, for me, my final exposure to it was positive, where I was like, "Oh, this is interesting."
Oh, it ends on a very high note.
High note. For me, I'm a very recent memory kind of guy.
Okay.
So it's like, oh, okay. I'm like, so maybe I'm a little higher on it right now than I should be, because it's the opposite. If they end poorly,
Yeah.
I'm probably a little harsher on it than we should be. Like It Takes Two.
Well, yeah, right. No,
Yeah, right.
That's fair.
I think.
Let me put it this way. I would be fine if you were like, hey, I had an amazing experience with this. I want to put it in Platinum. I would give it a 96.
No, I think you are correct. And I think I want to give it a 95.
I'm with you.
The reason I don't think it hits that next tier is because I think you're exactly right. In 9 months, am I going to remember all those story beats? Am I going to,
If you're not remembering characters now.
Exactly. I don't even know what
Right.
the Gondorians, is that what they're called?
Sure.
Yeah. I don't even know any of their names.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. So it just was not memorable to me, at least, especially on that side.
I'm thinking of Tomb Raider. I can tell you story beats from Tomb Raider. I'm thinking Arkham City, Asylum. And I mean that I like Batman, obviously, but I can tell you those story beats. I can tell you the story
I do
beats
think
from
it's
those
not
things.
exactly what it set out to do. Like I said, it knew what it was trying to do, which
Right.
is the orcs are the primary focus, the nemesis system, the sieges, the fighting, and it knocks that out of the park.
Yeah.
But you're right. I think it could have been a little bit better. I am always of the opinion of there can be filler that's not horrible.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
So, and it's challenging, but to me, there was definitely points where I was like, oh my God. Like, once I was getting to the end, because I wanted to finish all the quest lines,
Yeah.
at least. Like the Gondor one was one of the last ones. I was like, I don't want to do this.
Right.
So when you get there, that's definitely a negative.
I mean, that's how it was with Spider-Man, where I was super high on Spider-Man, and
Yeah.
then I saved all of the collecting and like web slightly. It's like, start a, I don't know, like not a siege, like fight here, and you have to like wait for like a police siren to come up, and I'm just swinging around the city, and it's just bored.
No,
I'm like,
yeah.
I don't want to do
Yeah.
this. Like, I want to like platinum the game, but I
Right.
just don't want to.
Yeah, that's
deal
a
with
tough
it.
one.
Like that stuff is like if it overstays its welcome, that's a.
Well, it wasn't like that where you're waiting for a random event, but it was.
But it's just
more,
not good.
It
Like,
was
it's
just
not,
like,
like,
this is really
compelling.
boring.
Yeah.
Like the Gondor thing was like important at first because they take the city,
Right.
and then after that, it's like, what do we do? Like, it's literally just bare bones side quests.
Yeah.
Which in 2016, you got to do a little better than that, in my opinion.
Yeah.
With that all being said, it's still a fantastic game, and I had a blast with
It's
it.
the tippy top of the gold tier.
Yeah, so I'm happy with a solid 95. Like, this game
Absolutely.
should be played by everyone.
It's very good.
If you
I
like action, if you like
out
Lord
of
the
all
Rings.
those games, like, I mean, I would be most excited for another one of those. More than Batman,
Right.
Tomb Raider, Borderlands. Like, I feel like
Yeah.
everyone's kind of overstayed their welcome,
Yeah.
or they made that third game that was just not
Yes.
as good as the other ones. This one, you're waiting for that, like, okay, take your time, like, whatever you need, but then get us that, like, that
I
next
am
step.
very curious where they go with the story, and I think they can add some seamless improvements to the game.
Yeah.
Like I was talking to you, how cool would it be if you had this journal of all the relationships or notable relationships of the orcs that you have?
Yep.
You can track, and then you can go back through and kind of read their backstory and like. I don't know. I think that'd be really, really cool.
Do you think there's room for an online component there, or do you think that starts like fudging some stuff?
Well,
up?
there is an online component. to Shadow of War.
What do you mean?
So you can siege other people's castles and everything.
Yeah, but I mean,
which
like,
I thought was kind of cool.
Because it's not...
Right, you can't fight other people.
Right.
I think there is. I think there's room for that. Now, the problem with that is how much do you sacrifice to include that versus, what you're going to put in the single-player experience. I think in an online component, maybe you play as orcs in that circumstance. That would be kind of cool. But I think there could be. It would still be the Siege format, but that would be a cool competitive, not competitive, but versus. I think also it would be interesting if, much like the orc system, I think it'd be cool if you had the same system with, the humans.
Yeah.
People from Gondor, like
have the orcs coming in and like just slaughtering like you.
Yeah, but you can like see, Terry work his way up from recruit to like general, and now he's got all these sick moves. Like I always like that too. It's like, oh man, this guy gained this and that, and he's like so strong now. Like it was really cool. This one, I was getting destroyed by this mob, and this one little recruit, it was like my last life, comes in and like stabs me, and he was like a slave, and then he works his way up to like, captain and everything, and then he works his way up to like on the wall or whatever, and I'm like, dude, what the fuck happened? This guy was like, no, he didn't even have clothes.
Yeah, he is ready.
Clothes. And it's like, Mordor is the land of opportunity, dude. Right. But it was really cool. It was like, at first, he was literally like, I could one-hit him.
Yeah.
But then he got lucky. And now he's got like all these crazy moves. He's like a legendary guy, and it's like, it was really cool. So
I like it.
Yep. That's what I loved about the game. You just get all these independent stories, and that kind of supplements for the actual story. But
that's the thing is like, can you just continue? Can you put more effort into that? And do you need that main story propelling you forward if the other stuff can? If you can,
I mean, you need something to keep you on the rails. But I think you're right. I think making that the core. Okay, so maybe the side missions aren't, let's go save these stupid Gondorians. It's more like recruit 3 captains. And now you get these captains' backstories, and maybe that triggers the next thing where it's like they're trying to get revenge on someone else. And now it's kind of more
or you need
natural.
To be a little bit more selective on either recruiting the Gondorians or even the orcs, where it's just like, okay, I'm looking for a Gondorian that is a great archer.
Right, yeah.
And then what if you're like, oh, hey, I'm going to build a barracks on my fort, and now I'm going to train you, and you're going to go up, and like you can start assigning like skill points.
Exactly.
And different things. They could really flesh that out.
I totally agree. Those are the 2 things I'd like to see. I'd like to see, maybe 3 things. Okay, 3 things I want to see. I want to see a journal that keeps track of your relationships and experiences, so you can go back and through it and things like that. With that, I would love to see like a little, even if it's a blurb, just a little backstory on, Crimp. Like, just a little as a child, he was always fascinated by, I don't know, something interesting like that. So it just gives them that extra level of whatever. And then you could have some really funny ones with that too. And then along with that, I'd like the humans to be more fleshed out. The same system. I think you could do the same system, pre-generated name. Obviously, it's not going to be as flashy as cool, but I think you're totally right. Working on people, bringing them up, developing their skills would be really cool.
Because you will, you forget the names now or you don't know. But like if you're the one essentially creating those characters, you're going to have more of a connection to them as it goes up.
I 100% agree. And the reason I thought of this is when you're in Minas Ithil for the first time, you see the humans on the wall, in the place of like where the orcs will be eventually when they're like, the warlord or whatever. But instead of seeing abilities for the people or anything, they're just like normal and they're just kind of there, which is really boring to me.
Yeah.
So I think you could just do the exact same thing, right? So, and then the last thing is I think you just develop the siege a little bit more, like make it a little more interesting, maybe different game types or missions, quote unquote, right? Instead of just capture point A, B, C, maybe it's like destroy this or maybe, I don't know,
make it worth
assassinate
it, or you have to do like multiple sieges to get to like the main capital type of thing. Like you're just like pushing them back, like it's like a tug of war thing.
A rush, from like Battlefield. Yeah. I like that a lot.
That'd be cool.
All right, that's Shadow of War.
It's awesome.
That took a little bit of time,
all right,
but there's a lot to talk about.
Yeah,
95. That's
highest one.
Is it the highest one? What was Borderlands 2?
I think
94?
94. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's better than Borderlands 2.
It's a tough. I think it's apples and oranges.
Of course.
Borderlands is another one where I'm like, okay, you kind of overstayed. Borderlands or Borderlands. Like I'm.
But
looking
it was
for something unique.
Borderlands 2 was a fantastic experience. Like
for
back
sure.
in the day.
Yeah, they're both very, very.
Of
good.
course. Yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
With that being said, that is what we have for you guys this week.
It's a short one. We had. I mean, it was bachelor party weekend.
We had to recover our minds, our spirits.
We put everything in
our
a Lord
body.
of the Rings. Basically, this is David's episode. I might entitle it that.
David's
Just
episode.
like David. This one's for David.
I am curious. If he was going to listen to one of them, it would be the one he's on. And then if he was going to listen to another one, it would be this one. So
Did he? So you've already talked to him about all this stuff?
yeah, he was trying to think about what top 5 he wants to do. I think he wants to. Well, I won't spoil it for you.
Okay.
But he has an idea of what he wants to do, and we'll make it happen.
Awesome.
Definitely, he's excited. So you and his interests line up a lot because he's a big
Seems like
Batman
it.
guy,
Yeah,
big
yeah.
Lord of the Rings guy, like all this stuff. So I think it'll be good.
That's awesome.
All right. With that being said, we appreciate you for watching. Check us out on couchcompany.games. Everything's on there.
Yes.
Check out our Twitter. We have polls up Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
It's a lot of polls, but
It's a lot of polls. We want to hear
it's a
from you.
variety.
You're smart.
Yeah.
You know things. Tell us.
You're really just
What you
rubbing
think.
these egos, but yeah.
I know. A little dangerous, maybe. But I want to hear what they think.
Sure.
And that's it. Thanks for joining us on the couch. We will see you next time. Peace.